Welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. So much to cover. I saw this article on the Gateway Pundit today. The United States sees the largest population increase in history in 2023 because of, the illegals, the open border. Let me just read through this article. The U.S. saw an increase of 3.8 million people in 2023, exceeding any previous year in population growth, which is really amazing because there were these mass waves of immigration through Ellis Island after the Civil War. So all those things you've seen, this is a greater, and this is, illegal immigration into this country. This is crazy. The Gateway Pundit. The United States has just undergone its most substantial one-year population increase in history, with growth exceeding 3.8 million in 2023, primarily because of illegal immigration, according to a recent report by John Burns Research and Consulting. Under Biden's leadership, over 8 million have entered the country illegally. On Biden's inaugural day, he signed executive orders that incentivized illegal immigration. He paused deportations.
He was planning on doing it all along. He did it on day one.
That's right. Suspended the Remain in Mexico, stopped border wall construction. As the nation grapples with the rising cost linked to illegal immigration, major cities are making blah, blah. Okay. So the main thing is the largest increase in a single year of our population this last year because of the mass illegal immigration at the southern border. And, I was having a conversation in the YouTube live chat room today, and a couple guys in there were taking issue with something that I say on almost every show.
Right.
I will never disagree with Trump. I will never criticize Trump.
Right.
And a couple guys are saying there's no man above, criticism. In this instance, and most every instance, they are correct, except in the case of President Trump right now, because we are on the verge of losing our country. I mean, really. And I know people over the years have said, we're going to lose the country. We're really losing it. They are bringing in the largest wave of immigrants in our history. They're here illegally. They don't speak the language. They don't become Americanized. They don't learn our culture. They don't learn our traditions. They don't learn our history. Our country is being overrun by peasants from Latin America, many of them criminal in their own countries and have come here and get all new identities. And Americans are being immersed into this illegal culture where we are going to be the minority in our own country. And when people come here in numbers like this, it's it changes the country.
Well, that's what it's all about, is changing the country, changing the attitude.
Yeah.
And also changing simultaneously young people and how they think, and brainwashing them. They don't respect their elders. People that are born now and people like our daughter's age, the Gen Z, unless their parents tell them things, they're not connected to World War II or connected to those generations or anything like that. I mean, I remember talking to my grandmother about stuff that happened in the early 20th century and about her family coming from Italy and World War II and the Depression and all that stuff she went through. And I'd, she gave me firsthand accounts of it because she lived it. She was born in 1908. But young people today, I don't even know if they have them talk to their parents about this stuff. And they're just so far removed from these things that they're creating a new history for them. It's like a whole new era. I mean, they're being raised to hate the country.
When people in the past, even in massive immigration waves, there was always regulation. Ellis Island, there was the reason Ellis Island is, and part of our history is because immigration, even during that period, was controlled. And there were very intense, very, very heavy limitations on immigration into this country. They limited it based on nation of origin. Only so many Irish, only so many Germans, so many Italians, so many Chinese. They did it that way, but there still were severe hardcore number limitations, and you had to go through the processing, the legal processing at Ellis Island. And not everybody got to come in. And back then, they didn't get cell phones and $5,000 gift cards and Section 8 housing and such.
No, not at all.
Like they're getting now. This country is being taken over. And they're going to, what they try to do is make it a racial thing. It's not a racial, you're afraid whites are going to be the minority. It is not that. It's the attitude that they're changing. It's that we're losing the culture. We're losing the American culture because these people that are coming here illegally are not becoming Americans. We had to go to Miami over the weekend, and Kathy had a doctor's appointment. And while you were at your appointment, I went to the food court at the mall across the street from where the doctor is. And I understand this is Miami. But I was really one of only a very crowded mall. It was on a Saturday. I was in the food court. I was one of just a handful of like English speaking white guys, and everybody else in there was speaking Spanish, not just the customers, but the employees. And, that's what, I have nothing against legal immigration, but when you come to this country in the past, you become Americanized. You learn the language. The problem is you learn the culture. You have people coming in, unlike the immigrants that came in the early 20th century through Ellis Island that respected the laws and even changed their names. I mean, there were like, and I've said this before, I asked my grandmother if she spoke Italian because her parents were from Sicily, and she spoke a little bit, even though her parents, that's all they spoke. And I said, well, why don't you speak Italian? And she said, because my parents wanted me to learn English. Yeah. And they wanted me to become American. She was born in Pennsylvania. And she said, my parents wanted me to be an American fully and speak English and not be like the ways of the old country. I'm not saying that it's good or bad. I'm just saying that that was the thinking back then. They came to America, assimilated. Nobody gave them anything. My great-grandfather was a coal miner and worked very hard. You know, they had an outhouse. They were not rich people, okay, and worked. And then my grandmother got married to my grandpa, my step-grandpa, her second husband, and they ended up owning a mobile home park. I mean, they had the American dream. And let me tell you, they worked their asses off. I would go visit my grandparents on the weekends, and they were working all day from sun up till sundown. No $5,000 gift
Never
cards.
went on vacations. I think she went to Europe once, and then she finally went on vacation after my grandfather died, and she was in her 80s. They never did anything fun. All they did was work. And I would ask her, and she never spent any money. And she said, I lived through the Depression as a widow because my grandfather died when my dad was 4, his father. And she said, I was so broke, and she had to rent out rooms. That is what it's like when you work hard and you don't feel anybody owes you anything. Nobody gave her anything. She didn't take handouts. She even said to me, I refused to take any handouts from anybody. She had pride. It's not like that with this new crop of people coming in now. They have no pride. They'll take whatever you want to give them. It's expected, and they demand it, and they have complete disdain for our laws, our cultures. And there is an American culture. There is an American culture. I don't care what anybody says.
And this conversation I was having in my YouTube live chat room this morning, where people say, you Trump's not a book. Trump is the only person that's going to save this country. Okay, if Trump is not reelected in November, this country is gone.
That's for sure. How many more illegals are going to be brought in?
Because of Trump, we've had huge gains with blacks, gays, and other in the youth. We talk about the youth a lot, like on yesterday's show about Charlie Kirk. These hardcore Democrat groups, we've made major inroads in, and the Democrats are not trying to win back the gays or the youth or the blacks. They're just bringing in a new wave of people dependent upon them. They don't care about blacks. They don't. When I was at,
you're exactly right. They're going to bring in their own people that they're think like they do.
When I was up at Mar-a-Lago today, there were a lot of gays for Trump there. Okay, a lot of gays for Trump. They don't care that they've lost the gay vote. They don't care that they've lost the black vote. The Democrats. They don't care that they've lost the youth vote because they're bringing in millions of peasants from Latin America that are dependent upon the Democrats.
That's right.
For their food, for their shelter, for everything, and they're replacing all of them.
They're starting them off that way. They're putting them on welfare day one.
The Great Replacement theory, okay, that a lot of people talk about, which I think is the Great Replacement fact, it's not about replacing white people. It's about replacing American people, okay, of all colors with non-American people that, since they're so dependent on the Democrats, they will do whatever the Democrats tell them to do for decades and maybe centuries to come. That's what's going on here. And for us to have had I want you to think about this, the largest single year increase of immigration in a country that has a history of great waves of immigration, that's insanity. If you watch those old movies, even if you go into The Godfather 2 and stuff, and they show those neighborhoods where the immigrants were living in New York, remember that? We have more people coming here now than those periods, and the ones that are coming are illegal. So the Great Replacement theory is about replacing not white people, but the American people with other people. Our country is being completely taken away from us right now, and don't let them try to turn this into a race thing, because
they do
it's
that
not.
They do that because it's a way of trying to keep people silent.
That's right.
To not talk about it. Because then if you talk about it, if you point it out, then you're a bigot. Mm-hmm. The left are very...
they're terrible people.
They're terrible people.
They're just terrible.
But they shame you into silence, or they try to, and you can't let that happen. I mean, the minute you say something like what Brian just said, they'll say, well, you're just racist. And they shut you down. And it's like you no longer have a point of view that matters anymore. You know what I mean?
That's right.
They just call you a name and boom, you're no longer relevant.
Now, Nikki Haley, who is completely insane, okay, if you've seen her, she did a town hall on Fox over the weekend. She's had a makeover.
She's had a major makeover.
And she's still a strange-looking person. And whatever makeover they do with her, they can't cover up those man hands unless they bring back white gloves. But I've been watching Nikki Haley yesterday and today on interviews and these things she's done, and she's insane. Look at her eyes, look at her face. She's crazed, and she's not lucid. And a couple clips here I want to play. This is one of them, Nikki Haley.
Would you pardon Donald Trump if he was convicted of a crime in federal court?
Well, thank you for that question. If you're talking about pardoning Trump, it's not a matter of innocence or guilt at that point, because that means he would have already been found guilty. I believe in the best interest of bringing the...
Okay, now let me stop there. See what we were talking about, immigrants not becoming Americanized? Nikki Haley, her parents are from India, and obviously she has an American accent. But even Nikki Haley, because she was raised in a non-American household, she doesn't understand the very basics. If you're talking about a pardon, that means he will have been convicted. President Ford pardoned President Nixon. Nixon was never tried, charged, or convicted.
Or she's just stupid.
She's stupid, but she's bird brain, President Trump calls her.
Yeah.
But she's same age as we are, right? These are things that when you're our generation, and she just doesn't know because she was not raised in an American household. She's not Americanized.
At that point, because that means he would have already been found guilty. I believe in the best interest of bringing the country together, I would pardon Donald Trump, because I think it's important for the country to move on. We've got to leave the negativity and the baggage behind. I don't want this country divided any further. I don't think it's in the best interest for America to have an 80-year-old president sitting in jail and having everybody upset about it. I think this would be the time that we would need to move forward and get this out of the way.
Okay. Now this thing here, so what she's saying there is Donald Trump is guilty of some things,
right.
And by the way, he's guilty of nothing. Unless you believe Making America Great Again is a federal crime, then I guess he would plead guilty to that. But she's talking as if he's guilty of something, which he's not. Then she did this interview with Jonathan Karl on that This Week show. And this is the one where she says there's going to be a female president. It's only a matter of whether it's her or Kamala. But she said some other things before that.
So we're just about out of time, but I've got to ask you, you had said earlier in this process that you will support Donald Trump if he wins the Republican nomination. But since you made that pledge, he has encouraged NATO, he encouraged Russia, said he would encourage Russia to do whatever the hell it wants with a NATO ally.
Well, first off, that's just not true. He was talking about a conversation he had with one of the NATO leaders and said, well, if we don't pay, would you defend us? And he says, why should we?
Right.
You know, I mean, by the way, we've paid for Europe's security with not just money, but American blood in 2 world wars. I think we've done enough for Europe.
I think so.
He didn't say, Russia, you can invade Europe.
No.
And that game of telephone, how things get, you know, they create these false narratives.
Plus, whatever the hell it wants.
Yeah, what was that?
If these other countries think that they have America that's always going to back them up, then they're going to be more inclined to go to war.
Exactly.
And if you tell them it's a preemptive strike, and if you tell them from the get-go, no, I'm not going to back you, then they're not going to go into war with anybody. They're going to say, well, if we're not going to have the USA money, then there's no point of doing that.
Exactly.
He has encouraged NATO, he encouraged Russia, said he would encourage Russia to do whatever the hell it wants with a NATO ally. You have called him diminished, unhinged, unfit for office. Are you still making that pledge that you would actually support, after all of that, Donald Trump for president of the United States if he beats you for the Republican nomination?
I mean, keep in mind, I am running against him
No, I know.
for a reason. I'm running against him because I don't think he should be I don't think he's the right person at the right time. I don't think he should be president. The last thing on my mind is who I'm going to support. The only thing on my mind is how we're going to win this. The only thing on my mind is how we're going to make sure that we correct what's happening in America and we bring this country back together, allow her to heal and move on in a strong way. I'm not thinking about who I'm going to support in an election.
But you've already said it.
We are going to have a female president of the United States. It will either be me or it will be Kamala Harris. And if Donald Trump is the nominee for the Republican Party, he will not win. Every poll shows that he will not win, and we will have a President Kamala Harris. I'm not going to allow that to happen. I'm not stopping. I'm not going anywhere. We're going to do this for the long haul, and we're going to finish it.
Okay, now the reason I played this was what she said. It's either going to be me or Kamala Harris, Nikki Haley. Got to understand, Nikki Haley is being run by the Uniparty, right? The Republican Democrat establishment. And they've had all these big Democrat fundraisers for her in the last few weeks, right?
Yeah.
So when she's talking about Kamala, it's either going to be her or Kamala. That's something she's picking up from these Democrats, at these donors, that they're talking about replacing Biden with Kamala.
I mean, why would she even bring in Kamala's name?
So that all of a sudden, exactly. So
she's letting the cat out of the
these
bag.
top Democrat, like she's been having a lot of Democrat fundraising parties that are private.
That tells you that they do plan to replace him with her at some point.
That's why I played that clip, and everybody's playing that, but I don't think anybody's kind of picked up on that and where she got that from. But the top Democrat donors at her events are telling her that they're going to get rid of Biden and put Kamala in there.
Yep.
And bring it on. You know, the only difference that's going to make is President Trump isn't going to be the 45th and 47th president. He's going to be the 45th and 48th president. That's the only difference that'll make.
Well, apparently Kevin O'Leary, who's on
Shark Tank, Mr. Wonderful.
He said that he will, after this ruling with Trump, he said, I would never invest in New York now.
That's right.
And I'm not the only one saying that, because what this is going to get overturned, but what this judge did in this whole thing was not seen as just going after Trump. This was going after a business, a company, for no reason at all. There was no victim. There was no fraud. There was no person that brought a lawsuit against Trump for defrauding them or anything like that. And now, New York's a mess. New York's a mess. So now Kevin O'Leary, who's a billionaire and owns a lot of businesses, said that nobody wants to do business in New York now because they're afraid or they're pissed off, they're aggravated, and they're not happy about it, the way Trump's been treated and how they went after a private business. And it was obviously a political hit job. And then you have these truckers now that are not going to bring in goods. You have crime rampant on the streets. You have Eric Adams giving all this money to illegals and sheltering them in schools, kicking out kids. I mean, this city is a microcosm of how a Democrat can destroy a place. And it's happening in New York, and they're trying to do this around the country. You see it happening in the larger cities, San Francisco, New York, a little bit maybe in LA, Detroit, these bigger cities. You see it happen. Mostly it's San Francisco and New York I see right now. But this is what would happen on a national scale if you did not have the MAGA movement. Okay? If you had some rhino, like if Trump had never run, and you had some rhino like DeSantis or Mitt Romney or somebody else in there, believe me, this would be happening too. It just would be happening a little slower and more subversive where you wouldn't notice it as much. But the reason it's so noticeable is because Trump's bringing attention to it, and the media, they're just reacting to Trump so much. They're panicked that they're just getting so radicalized. But, interesting to see that he was on with Neil Cavuto. I'm just looking at the thing on Twitter. He said a lot of New Yorkers won't do business now.
It is, Kathy? It's risky because
it's risky. Exactly.
What's happening in New York? This is like right out of Dr. Zhivago.
I mean, they could go after somebody else for some other reason.
And this is right out of Dr. Zhivago. Okay, when the communists took over, they seized all the private property. And Dr. Zhivago comes back to Moscow to his house, and there's like 18 families living in his house.
That's right.
And
it's a great movie.
And communists believe that
that's what the Nazis did. They took over people's homes.
Yeah, but what communists believe is that all private property ownership is theft from the people.
Right.
And what they're trying, it's not going to hold up against Trump in New York. This Judge Engoron and Letitia James, but. No. What Kevin O'Leary from Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank is talking about is they have just decided they can seize your business because they don't like you.
That's and not to mention
that's very dangerous. That's not very secure.
The taxes. There's plenty of other states, but New York is falling apart, and so that fact that he said that, he's a huge businessman. It's not a friendly place now. And you're right. It's why would somebody go and invest millions and millions and billions of dollars?
Investment's risk.
Take that risk. And if somebody comes along and finds out that you donated to Trump's campaign or you've done business with Trump has so much, his hand so much in New York. He's been there forever, for decades. And to do that to somebody like him, look what they've done to Giuliani. I mean, it's just a mess over there.
It's insanity.
If I was living in New York after the way things happened with COVID and now with the illegals and the crime, I don't know why anybody lives there anymore. It's a mess.
Here's the thing: so much of American law is based on legal precedent. That's why
that's exactly right.
That's why they always cite case law. That's case law.
So after this verdict, it's really scary for them.
So if you are a business owner or you're doing investment in New York City, you have the risk that the business might not succeed, but say it does, and then all of a sudden 10 years from now, there's some other jerk attorney general that doesn't like you because you're supporting the next MAGA president.
Yep.
They'll use the Trump president, and all of a sudden they'll take away your business and your property from your family. So you've got this other unknown risk that's completely unpredictable. And now this case is not going to hold up, and obviously going to be tossed out. But I'm telling you, I looked this up again today, and I've talked about this a lot. Letitia James' net worth is declared at $15 million. Look up her resume. Just read her Wikipedia. I did it on the morning show this morning, so I'm not going to do it again now. Okay. But she graduated from Howard Law School, and she's only worked for the government her whole life. No private sector work. She does not have a wealthy husband. She doesn't come from a wealthy family. How did someone who worked for New York City and now state government their entire life amass a fortune of $15 million? And I didn't read anything in her bio about winning the New York lottery. Okay. So the Trump organization, I think what would be very interesting to do is to have private investigators investigate her financial background and find out how she amassed $15 million. Now, maybe she's very smart in the stock market. Maybe she's brilliant when it comes to real estate investment.
Look into all these people.
I other than me, And I don't like to take credit for everything I do. I mean, I got to give myself credit a bit because who else is other than my wife here? But other than me, I haven't heard anybody ask the question of how Letitia James amassed a fortune of $15 million when she's worked for the government her entire life and doesn't come from a wealthy family. Like Bragg in New York, he comes from a wealthy family, so you could find some reason. But Letitia
I didn't
doesn't.
know that about him.
Yeah, that's part of the problem. He went to private school education his whole life and everything else. Bragg. So
the DA.
Yeah,
right.
So he's got a lot of hang-ups about that. But Letitia James, either she's brilliant in some business world where she can take peanuts and turn it into $15 million, or she's corrupt. I don't know.
Fannie Willis is connected. Her dad was in the Black Panthers.
Yeah, so she's got
very connected in Atlanta.
That's right. So her money could be explained away through her dad's connections, but Letitia James, it's a mystery, and I bet you that if the Trump people hired a team of special private investigators and did some research, I think it would not be difficult for them to find out when all of a sudden she became so rich and how. It's probably not that difficult for people at that level. It's in New York, and they got a lot of connections in New York, and I don't think the American people or even the people of New York realize how rich she is, and she's worked for the government since the day she stepped out of college. Now listen, I want to tell you guys that I did not know this, but on our guest bed we have we have a MyPillow mattress topper on our guest bed. It's the 2-inch mattress topper.
Right.
I did not know that, and Kathy was down with cold or flu for a few days, so I was sleeping in the guest room.
I had a stomach virus.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to get sick, so I was sleeping in the guest room, and I was sleeping on the 2-inch mattress topper. I had no idea that people ask me all the time, which is better, the 2 or 3-inch mattress topper? Well, obviously, the 3-inch is better than the 2, but I slept on the 2-inch mattress topper 2 or 3 nights. I didn't even know it was the 2-inch mattress topper. It's very, very good. And the mattress top, the 2-inch mattress topper, by the way, is 50% off. Yeah. With our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane at mypillow.com. And it's free shipping site-wide on everything at mypillow.com with our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane. But for those of you that have been asking me about the 2-inch mattress topper, I did not even know it was the 2-inch mattress topper. It's that good, okay? So go to mypillow.com, get your mattress topper. I mean, it turns your entire bed into a cloud. It turns your whole mattress into a big MyPillow, and it's wonderful. And it's that 2-inch mattress topper. It blew me away, Kathy. I had no. Have you slept on that one yet?
I haven't slept on it, but I've laid down on it.
Take a nap on it or something one day on the weekend or something, and you'll see it's amazing. So the 2-inch MyPillow mattress topper is 50% off with our promo code Kane. And, of course, the free shipping is on all items site-wide at mypillow.com with our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane. All right, we're going to take a quick break and be right back.
Are you a teenager who wants to unlock their full potential? You can. You just need the right help and guidance. And that's what you will find in the book from author Charles E. Tyler, 10 Mindsets to Embrace for Teenage Success, Happiness, and a Determined Path in Life. Available on Amazon. This must-read and life-changing book is your guide to rocking the teenage years with confidence and clarity. It's filled with real-life, no-nonsense advice. You'll discover how to navigate the twists and turns of adolescence. Have you ever wondered how successful people make it look so easy? 10 Mindsets to Embrace reveals their secrets. You'll also find interactive exercises that can boost your emotional intelligence, find your zen, and supercharge your self-awareness, and discover the real you. Author Charles E. Tyler's 10 Mindsets to Embrace is a conversation, a guide, and your personal coach. It's perfect for teens who are ready to challenge the norms, make their mark, and become their best selves. And it makes a great gift for parents, teachers, and school counselors to share with their students. 10 Mindsets to Embrace for Teenage Success, Happiness, and a Determined Path in Life is available on Amazon. Order your copy right now and take that first step to the success and happiness that you've dreamed of. It's time to get your life organized and do it in a fun and colorful way with Boxia World on Etsy. That's Boxia. At Boxia World on Etsy, you'll find a huge array of colorful and functional storage boxes that are tailored to meet all your organizational needs. Everything is crafted from high-quality fabric. These boxes seamlessly complement your Calyx set, infusing your space with a delightful splash of color. They're perfect to organize your kids' room, your office, your classroom, or any space that you want to organize. From dark green and rich pink to lively orange, you'll find a huge selection of colors and shades at Boxia World on Etsy. Go to the shop right now at boxiaworld.etsy.com. That's Boxia. boxiaworld.etsy.com. Make sure to use the promo code RADIO. boxiaworld.etsy.com. Boxia World on Etsy. Your world in vivid colors. Podcast listeners, are you looking for a fresh new podcast? Then add Journeyman Commentator to your podcast playlist right now. Hosted by the hilariously insightful Andrew Self. Journeyman Commentator is a twist on sports podcast. Andrew covers the world of English soccer with wit and humor that's simply unmatched. You'll be hooked from the very first episode. Andrew shares his thoughts and the hilarious stories about his travels to and from the matches. Each episode is a blend of sports, laughter, and unforgettable commentary. Journeyman Commentator is available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and wherever you get your podcast. It's perfect to listen to on your way to or home from work. Share the podcast on all your social media so your friends can add Journeyman Commentator to their playlist too. Journeyman Commentator with host Andrew Self. Start listening right now.
You are listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. So just saw this. Charlie Kirk just retweeted this. It's a report from the southern border.
Yep.
From Fox News. I don't know the reporter's name. He's the young guy with the big high hair.
The name's in the tweet
hair.
if you see it.
Oh, Bill.
He tagged him.
Melugin. I'm not sure how to pronounce that last name, but he's at the southern border.
Certainly feels like I do. I can speak Spanish, but it's not doing me a whole lot of good down here. As you mentioned, we are getting a massive explosion of Chinese nationals crossing the border. They speak Mandarin. We've been able to talk with some of them using translator apps, but there is a huge language barrier. And Border Patrol agents out here have to deal with that same barrier as well. Some of the Chinese are actually standing behind me right now. Take a look at this video we shot early this morning here in Hukumba. After the sun came up, dozens of illegal immigrants from all around the world were gathered up waiting for Border Patrol to process them. Some from China, others from Turkey, others from...
And by the way, I'm looking at the video. It is all military-age men. All of them.
Eastern countries, most of them adults from all around the world. Try
scary.
talking with some of them. Here's what some of them had to say. Where are you guys from? Turkey. Where are you guys from? ¿De dónde son? Ecuador. Where are you guys from? China. What city in the U.S. do you want to go to?
Los Angeles.
Los Angeles, L.A.? Los Angeles, okay. And over the weekend, Fox cameras witnessed hundreds of Chinese nationals crossing illegally here in Hukumba. Again, most of them single adults, very few, if any, with little children with them. John and Sandra, this is not normal. These numbers are shooting through the roof when it comes to the Chinese. Just to put it in perspective, look at this stunning graphic. CBP sources telling Fox News in the last 4.5 months since October 1st, there have been more than 20,000 Chinese nationals encountered at our southern border. That is up more than 4,000% over all of fiscal year 2021 when there were just 450.
Okay, so 20,000 Chinese apprehended since October 1st.
They're going to be sending a lot more. You know, China's sending these.
Well, that's just how many they've apprehended. That's not how many they've gotten through that they haven't apprehended.
Chinese nationals encountering. Keep in mind, we still have almost 8 months left in fiscal year 2024 to go. Back out here live, it is not just people pouring across the border, drugs as well. DHS announced a massive fentanyl bust about 45 minutes west of where I'm standing right now, Alpine, California. Border Patrol stopping a vehicle, a drug smuggler's vehicle. They found 720,000 fentanyl pills inside of it in 110 different packages. The California Attorney General calling it one of the biggest fentanyl busts in state history.
Okay.
Wow.
All right. So you look at the footage, 20,000 Chinese, almost all adult males, some women, hardly any kids. What is their purpose? Is China in a nonviolent way invading our country?
I think there's two things going on. I think it's that, and I think it's probably more the fact that China is there was a guy on Fox this morning, and I watched a little bit, and I saw this one guy talking about it. He's an ex-general. He's on there all the time. He said the leader of China is terrified of his people because it's an illusion, that they once they realize, they're starting to realize how bad things are, and they're afraid. These dictators are afraid of revolutions, so they have to keep the people under control. And he's terrified of losing control over the people. And I think what's happening is they have so many people in China that they're busting at the seams. I mean, they're way overpopulated. They have been for decades. They put a limit on how many kids you can have and all this stuff. They probably have no food. They eat dogs and stuff and birds and weird things because they have no food. Mm-hmm. They have too many people to feed. It's a communist country. And I think you're going to see a lot more Chinese people coming in eventually by the hundreds of thousands, maybe even the millions if Biden stayed in office, because they got to get rid of some of these people in the country because they're too many that they can't handle and they're afraid. And I think also that's part of it. And I think also maybe they're being very specific on who they're sending, and maybe it is some type of invasion, but that is very unusual. Maybe I guess everybody in South America is here now.
Well, they got it.
So they ran out of people in South America to come. Now they're bringing in everybody.
South America's empty.
South America's empty, and now they're going to the to Asia to get them.
And this thing with the 20,000 Chinese apprehended.
They are changing the demographics of this country. 20,000
Chinese apprehended since October 1st. Again, that doesn't include the ones they didn't get. So who knows what the real number is? 2, 3, 4, 5 times that?
No doubt, replacement theory.
But I believe we are being invaded by China. I think China, I've known a lot of Chinese people in my life. They're some of the smartest people I've ever met in my life, okay? The Chinese are very, very smart people. And China has found the most clever way to invade and take over a country in the history of the human race. You don't have to do it violently. You just move in.
Well, yeah, it's a different type of Cold War.
It's a different type of war.
And just sending people over to live off us and to affect our economic system is a form of an invasion. It's a burden. Sending all these people here to burden us that we have to pay for is another way of attacking the country.
Well, Kathy,
they're attacking us on all different areas.
I saw a story today.
Socially, economically, everything.
I saw a story today. I can't remember where it is, but they appointed a Chinese woman who's not a U.S. citizen on some city board.
Oh my goodness gracious! That's what they're going to do.
So what's happening here is we have tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of Chinese that are being brought here by China into our country. And remember, the fentanyl's from China too.
And they're going to give them all leadership positions.
They're coming here, and these people already knew where they wanted to go. Los Angeles. They're coming here to go to specific areas for specific reasons. And what those reasons are, we may not know, but they're not for any good reasons for us in America. This country is being taken over. This is not a Cold War like we think of. This is like it's a real war. It's violent because of the fentanyl alone.
Yeah, not to mention
that
the drugs
the Chinese are bringing through kills people.
They have one objective: China, and that is to bring America to its knees. And they're attacking on all levels with the drugs, with the immigrants coming in, with the tax burden, the financial burden. And our country, our leaders are letting this happen. They are completely complicit in letting this happen. And I know Obama is behind all of this, and Biden. They're all being paid to do it.
And it goes back to what I was talking about in the first segment. No one should criticize President Trump. He knows what he's doing. And I was talking about how there are going to be people that he brings into the fold that you may not like.
Right.
Like, for example, I've been highly critical of Vivek Ramaswamy, right? I've done show after show, but if you've noticed, since he dropped out of the race and Trump brought him into the fold, I haven't been critical of him. Okay? If somebody calls me and says, well, do you still think this is true? I'll say yes, but you hear I'm not going after Ramaswamy because
Trump gets enough criticism as it is.
Yeah, President Trump recognizes there's something that Vivek Ramaswamy can contribute that can help him get back in the White House. And so I'm not going to attack him. Let me tell you, if Donald Trump brought in Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis into his immediate circle, I would tell you guys not to criticize that decision. Donald Trump understands more than we do.
And there's more important things at stake.
That the danger that this country is facing with what's going on right now, this southern border thing is out of control. And if he has to make allegiances with Adam Schiff to win, you got to accept. I know that's extreme, but if he did, you'd have to say, you know what, President Trump knows what he's doing.
Trust Trump.
This is our only chance. If President Trump is not reelected in November, the country's over.
Steve Bannon just said it's the most dangerous time in this country.
It is.
And, you think about World War II and the Civil War. The Civil War was obviously a dangerous time. The country was completely split so I don't know if I would agree with him completely on that. I mean, that was a pretty bad time. You had a war for 4 years of brothers killing brothers. But this time might be second to that because you are seeing America being destroyed, not with bombs, not with soldiers. It's a different type of destruction. And these white liberal elites are letting this happen. Some of them are in on it and they're getting paid. Yeah. And some of them are just useful idiots. And they just push the agenda like Joy Reid or Joy Behar or Whoopi Goldberg, people in the media. They're being fed BS and they're full on board. And they use this fake narrative of Trump to keep pushing this whole thing. Jimmy Kimmel, all these people in the media, these celebrities, they're the biggest useful idiots around. And they just they hang out in these circles and their Trump derangement syndrome gets bigger and bigger. Like Stephen Colbert had a complete meltdown on his show because he believes all the stuff they tell him, and it's helping facilitate this invasion.
Now listen to this.
The American people see what's going on.
So this is I know sounds maybe conspiratorial to people, but I want you guys to listen to this. Mitch McConnell's wife, Elaine Chao, is from China. Her family are very, very wealthy, prominent Chinese family in China. Her father went to school with former president in China, okay? Mitch McConnell's sister-in-law, his Chinese sister-in-law, died. All right, Angela Chow's sister. She died last week. Okay, let me read this story, and then there's something about this there's something stinks about this. Okay, Angela Chow, who was the sister of Elaine Chao, served as the CEO of the dry bulk company, the Foremost Group. It's a company with deep connections to the CCP. All right, Angela Chao died in a tragic car accident. It's been revealed that she died after her car went into a pond located on a private ranch located about 40 miles outside Austin, Texas. So what was Elaine Chow's sister doing in Texas? She's Chinese. Mitch McConnell is in Kentucky. We have this Chinese illegal immigration surge is coming up through China. I mean, through Texas, these 20,000 Chinese that we've apprehended since October 1st have been going into the United States through Texas. And then we find out that she's a Chinese, Elaine Chao's sister. I know she's passed, I'm sorry that she had the tragic accident. And I'm sure it was an accident, but what was she doing in Texas at the same time that China is invading us in Texas? She's a Chinese Communist Party member.
Yeah, it's weird.
She's a senior person with the CCP. Her entire family is. And I'm telling you, Elaine Chao's sister was in Texas, had something to do with what's going on at the border.
And what the hell is Mitch McConnell doing being married to this woman who's a communist and whose family? I mean,
exactly.
What is? Come on, people.
Exactly.
Come on.
He's the top Republican in the Senate, and he has so much power. And I promise you,
she's working for China. Give me a break.
I promise you, she didn't marry him for his good looks.
No, they own his.
He's repulsive.
They own his ass.
Yeah,
and he has I promise you, he has tons of money. And he lives these people,
Chinese money.
They're worse than celebrities. These politicians, they sell their soul to the devil for the money and the power. It's a drug, and the minute they got you, that's it. You're in, and they got you for life. And they don't want to. They give them amazing homes, and I promise you, Mitch McConnell and his wife have a whole staff. Like they're in an English, manor like Downton Abbey, with a butler and chefs and all this stuff. And they give them that life because then they buy them and they do whatever they want and they completely control them.
So
it's sickening.
So let us know in the comments, do you think that it's just a coincidence that this Chinese Communist Party member sister-in-law of Mitch McConnell was in Texas during this Chinese invasion there? Just a coincidence? I don't know.
Does she live in Texas?
It doesn't say. I would.
Does she live in America?
Yeah. She was living in America. But I just find it strange while this Chinese invasion's going on that we got to she's a top person with them too because of the Mitch McConnell connection. All right, listen, we're going to take our last break. When we get back, there's a lot more to share. Let us know in the comments what you think about all the things we've discussed on the program. My name is Brian. Always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We'll be right back.
Are you tired of the endless search for affordable contact lenses? Well, your search is over. Say hello to LoveMyContacts.com, where premium vision meets unbeatable prices. LoveMyContacts.com isn't just any contact lens retailer. Love My Contacts are powered by real optometrists and vision experts. Yes, that's right. Experts who know eyes and care about yours, ensuring you get the best fit from brands you trust, like AccuView, Bausch & Lomb, Alcon, and CooperVision. And guess what? With LoveMyContacts.com's easy subscription service, forget about running low on contacts ever again. Just set it, forget it, and let your lenses come to you. Don't have your prescription handy? No problem. LoveMyContacts.com will retrieve it from your doctor's office, making your experience as seamless as possible. They have the most popular contacts at the best prices too, like AccuView Oasis, the Infuse, and Dailies. It's time to experience the LoveMyContacts.com difference. Visit the site right now, LoveMyContacts.com, and step into a world where quality meets convenience at prices you'll love. LoveMyContacts.com. Blast off on an epic adventure with a children's book from author Kelly McCarthy that the entire family will enjoy together. The Robot Rescue Squad versus Augustus Greed. Available on Amazon. In a future where Earth thrives in harmony with robots, 4 heroes emerge to face their greatest challenge. Meet Theorem, Argo, Hockney, and Rush, the Robot Rescue Squad. They're designed to be the perfect team of saviors. But when their creator disappears, it's up to them to unite and save the day against the nefarious Augustus Greed. The Robot Rescue Squad is a journey into a world that's both familiar and fantastically new. Young readers will go on an adventure that celebrates the power of diversity, the strength of individual gifts, and the unstoppable force of teamwork. With the Robot Rescue Squad versus Augustus Greed, families will discover a tale of found family, courage, and ingenuity. It's also a reminder that being different is what makes us strong, and together we can overcome any obstacle. The Robot Rescue Squad versus Augustus Greed, where adventure meets heart and heroes come in all shapes and sizes. Available on Amazon in Kindle, paperback, and Kindle Unlimited. Order your copy right now. How'd How would you like to make your home stand out above the rest? You can with the elegance of Moroccan craftsmanship at The Brass Designs on Etsy.com. The Brass Designs on Etsy is a distinguished cooperative bringing the beauty of handmade brass and copper crafts directly into your home. They specialize in kitchen and bathroom fixtures, indoor and outdoor shower systems, and unique accessories. The Brass Designs have over 14 years of experience in their local market with a team of over 20 skilled artisans, ensuring that each piece is meticulously handcrafted for lasting quality and beauty. From sleek kitchen faucets to exquisite copper and brass bathtubs, every product comes with a 10-year warranty. And as Etsy star sellers, they pride themselves on their exceptional product quality, customer service, and reliable shipping. They've built long-term partnerships with numerous U.S.-based interior designers, redefining home aesthetics with a blend of traditional artistry, premium quality, and unrivaled reliability. The range of items for the entire home include kitchen sink faucets, outdoor copper shower heads, stylish soap dispensers, decorative hanging pots, and so much more. Visit the shop right now on Etsy, etsy.com/shop/The Brass Designs. View their inventory. You will be impressed. Experience the blend of Moroccan tradition and modern design, elevating your home with The Brass Designs on Etsy, where art meets functionality. Etsy.com/shop/The Brass Designs.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. So President Trump is like 30 points ahead in every poll. And MSNBC, they had a panic. They had a discussion over the weekend on Trump's return to the White House.
Trump does not stand up to Vladimir Putin. He does not say anything that could be remotely critical of Putin. He didn't while he was in office. He didn't while standing next to him in Helsinki. He hasn't done it since leaving office as he's trying to get back into power. Talk to us about how the idea of Trump return potentially imminent, how that loomed over the gathering in Munich, how those world leaders reeling from this news of Navalny's death, Putin on the rise, as you mentioned earlier in the show, and the idea that someone who is cozying up to Putin every chance he gets might soon be back in the West Wing.
So it sends a chill down the spines of many European leaders, obviously. They feel as never before the threat from Putin.
Okay. When Trump was in his first term, what country did Putin invade? None.
Exactly.
None. Before he was president, he invaded. After he was president, he invaded. But when Trump was in office, Putin didn't invade anything.
Meanwhile, there's nobody on the panel to make that point that you just made, which is a very good point. But the minute Biden's in office, he invades the Ukraine.
Exactly. He made a Crimea when Obama was president. Now, this thing about, Putin and Trump and this opposition leader being killed. Okay, I was listening to the news today, and they're talking about how fearful Putin is of his political opposition, so he puts him in prison.
Yeah,
and all this. Well, isn't that what Biden's doing? With Trump, President Trump is the political opposition leader in the United States right now because the Democrats are in power. Trump is the opposition leader.
Yep,
and they've arrested him several times. They got a mugshot. They're taking his property away from him, his company. They're trying to take his company and property away from him in New York and from his family, right? So I'm listening to these people in the news talk about what a terrible person Putin is for going after the political opposition leader when it's going on right now in this country.
Exactly.
And not only is it going on in this country, they're the cheering crowd cheering on the oppression of the leader of the political opposition in the United States, Donald Trump.
It's just incredible.
And they don't even see it.
They don't see it. It's just incredible.
No, they don't see it. So MSNBC, CNN, they're like Putin.
And they never will.
No.
And they never will see it. You're just banging your head against the wall trying to get through it.
It's crazy. People. No, and if you explain it to them, they would think you were nuts if you tried to explain it to them.
Yeah. Oh, no. I mean, I know my dad has him and my stepmom, they have a lot of friends. They're in a country club and stuff, and they live in a very MAGA county, so they don't deal with it as much as they used to. But a while ago, they would have friends that were liberals, and my dad said he said, you just can't get through to these people. He said they just absolutely are brainwashed. They don't want to hear it. You could point out the most logical thing. You could show them direct evidence of something. they've lost friendships. Him and his best friend didn't talk for like 10 years because of Trump, or 5 years because of Trump. And they finally reconciled, and because he's like dying, his friend. But they've been best friends forever, and he said that they hate Trump so much that it just drove a major wedge. And what they had to do when they reconciled is just be like, we're not going to discuss politics anymore.
Yeah. So
he said it just goes nowhere, and he said they just don't want to see what's really happening. Even if you have proof, you have evidence, they'll tell you that's not true. Now, they just don't want to believe.
I got the new polls. These are the Republican primary polls, Trump versus Nikki Haley. Okay.
When is that? Next week?
Next week is South Carolina, but Trump is 30 points ahead in South Carolina. In North Carolina, Trump is 75 points ahead. In Tennessee, Trump is 67 points ahead. In Virginia, Trump is 69 points ahead. These are all Trump versus Nikki Haley.
What planet is she living on? She's waiting for a conviction. She's waiting for something to they're working something behind the scenes where she somehow thinks she's going to get the nomination another way.
In California, Trump is 67 points ahead. In Oklahoma, Trump is 77 points ahead. Massachusetts, Trump 41 points ahead. That's where she's closest. There's not any path for Nikki Haley.
No path.
So
other than a sneaky, underhanded one.
This is still. These are desperate people. Okay, these are very desperate people.
Yes.
She's got the Uniparty, the Democrats behind her, and they still see some type of Supreme Court ruling or something that's going to prevent him from being on the ballot.
Yeah.
And they see her getting plugged. See, the way this works.
Not gonna happen.
Some states, this is not true in every state, and it's changed over the last few years, so I don't know how it is in each state by state, okay? So I can't go through them and tell you. But when primaries come around, some states are called winner takes all. You'll hear that said a lot, which means the winner gets all the delegates. Some are not winner take all, which means that the people that don't win get some delegates. So Nikki Haley, even though she's lost every primary so far,
she's still picking up some.
She's still picking up delegates.
Yeah.
So when they get to the this is what Nikki Haley and her bird brain has convinced herself of is this: when we get to the convention and the Supreme Court or somebody rules that Trump is not eligible, she is going to get the nomination because she's going to have the second most delegates.
Right. Well, that's exactly what's happening.
That's what she's thinking.
No,
she's
that's
insane.
exactly what's happening. Well, it's not just her.
That's what they're telling her.
It's the rhinos that are with her. This is the scheme that the Bushes and Romney that are all trying to concoct here.
It's crazy. Now, I want
they
to
are crazy.
Thank our Patreon supporters for their support of the program. Thank you so much, guys. And if you would like to support the program by becoming a Patreon supporter, there's a link in the description of this and every episode. There's many perks and benefits to becoming a Patreon supporter. One of those for our top Patreon supporters. Our top Patreon supporters get a live on-air thank you shout out on each and every podcast episode. So the names you will hear now are our top Patreon supporters. I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, ETW, Chuck, D, Pamela, Rick, Nick, Wesley, Macho, Mike P, Carlos, Paulette, John, ActicFox, Heather, David, Maria in Texas, Richard, Alice, K-Mac, LeeZep, Shawna, Constance, and George. These are our top Patreon supporters. Thank you so much. And again, if you would like to become a Patreon supporter, there is a link in the description of this and every episode. You just click that link, and it will explain to you how to become a Patreon supporter.
I wanted to mention we saw Nikki Haley. There were clips on X of this new town hall she did on Fox. She has had a major makeover, like makeup and hair. She looks good. She looks better than I've ever seen her look.
Nikki Haley.
She has a ton of makeup on, and the makeup, guys probably don't know about this stuff, it's very flattering to her skin tone. She was wearing like a silver dress, a very pretty dress. I'm sure it was very expensive. They have upgraded her over the last week. I've noticed a marked difference in her appearance from her last public appearance where she was wearing jeans. And I'm not saying she's not going to wear jeans again, but I don't know if this is going to be a permanent change. But this town hall, she almost looked like a different person. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they gave her some Botox on top of it. Her makeup was amazing. Her hair looked beautiful. She's definitely had they brought in a whole new team. It's not going to help, but this is the kind of stuff that they do when somebody needs boost. They figure, okay, well, let's change your image. Let's buy you a new dress. Let's fix your hair. Let's get you better makeup. And you can definitely tell the difference, at least a woman can, between cheap makeup and really expensive makeup. Definitely a difference in the quality and the way it looks on your skin. But if you see her in this town hall, this is the best. She is like made up like a woman going to the Academy Awards. I mean, she looks better than I'm not saying I think she's pretty. I don't. But she looks better than I've ever seen her.
She's very strange looking.
And they did a major overhaul on her appearance from the last public appearance where she was just hanging out in jeans and stuff like that. I mean, I was shocked. She almost looked like a different person in a way. So they're trying to rebrand her, making her more glamorous. She looked glamorous.
Yeah, and she keeps saying, I only have one more fella to beat. She keeps saying fella all the time. What is she trying to sound like?
She's trying to sound like just this sweet Southern girl.
Oh, please.
That's all, that she's this sweet Southern girl.
She's a Judas.
You know what I mean? And that she's trying to sound cute, like not threatening to people. So they're definitely, she said you change your personality based on
That's
things.
what she said.
So
from state to state.
Yeah. So they're molding her and they're creating this persona of her. So, but
no
can't hide the
it.
real like they tried that with DeSantis a couple times, and you can't hide who the real person is.
So we were mentioning this book last week, and there's more information. Peter Schweizer's new book, Blood Money, is coming out very soon.
Oh,
and
yes, that'll be good.
I was reading a story the other day that the insiders in Washington are in a panic. They're trying to get advanced copies of it to find out if their bosses are on it.
When that comes out.
And they can't get it. But listen to this. Peter Schweizer's new book, it's titled Blood Money.
His books are good. Why
the Powerful Turn a Blind Eye While China Kills Americans. Listen to this. No one names sources, by the way, in the book. It contains 939 endnotes, totaling 89 pages. There were no unnamed sources. There were documents that were leaked from the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Justice, and restricted Chinese military documents and reports.
Comes out the 27th, so I'm going to pre-order it for you.
There are leaked Mexican internal communications from U.S. officials, and Chinese corporate records. Okay? U.S. senators, member of Congress, and Capitol Hill staffers are reportedly privately discussing the national security implications of the embargoed book's revelations. I have read the book, said Jason Chaffetz. He says, this will rock D.C. Chaffetz added that Blood Money's shocking revelations have source material backing up the facts.
All right, I ordered it. It's going to get shipped the 27th.
The hardcover? Would you order?
I ordered the hardcover so we can both read it, and then we give it to people in our family.
We'll read it together at night.
Read it to. I'm looking at the people on the cover. You got Newsom, Fauci, Schiff, some guy I don't know, and AOC on the cover. And it said, Blood Money, Why the Powerful Turn a Blind Eye While China Kills Americans. Yeah, they're turning a blind eye.
Because they're getting rich.
It says here in the description, China is killing Americans and working aggressively to maximize the carnage while our leaders remain passive and some compliant. Why? If anyone could crack the code, it's blah, blah, blah. Blood Money. Schweitzer and his team of forensic investigators spent 2 years investigating this. Through Chinese military documents, data mining a mountain of American financial records, tracking U.S. political leaders, investments, and family businesses. Wow. Bombshell after bombshell. This is going to be a good one.
Oh, yeah, this will be a good one.
Everybody needs to get this book.
And you know what? It's coming out at the right time, right before the election, right?
I tried to get him for an interview. I can't figure out how to get in touch. Some of these people that...
I've gotten in touch with him before.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, I can get in touch with him.
Okay. I would get in touch with him to talk about it, because that sounds like a really good interview. Yeah. If you can interview him about the book, I think that would be...
Yeah, Peter Schweitzer.
We've read his other books. They're excellent.
His books are always good, but this one, the timing of this one is
Did he do
better
Clinton
than any
Cash?
Other. Yeah, that was the first book that made him famous. And
his books are great.
This book is coming out at the right time, because it's not just because it's an election year. The people have woken up to the corruption in Washington to a level they didn't with his previous books. You know what I mean? So... this book is going to be big. It's going to be
go
big.
back and read his other books too. I mean, his books are excellent.
What they're doing is pretty smart. This embargo, there's no advance copies. And the reason they're doing that is what happens with these books is they release them early to the media.
Right.
And the media start doing a story a day on things in the book. So by the time the book comes out, the revelations inside are like old news.
Right. They try to discount it and try to sensitize people to it.
So he's releasing this book without the advance copies so that it's like bombshell news all at once, and they don't have a month to try to dilute it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I can't wait. Peter Schweitzer, he should be on Trump's cabinet.
What was the book I got you before that I thought was this one? It was another book on China.
I can't remember. It was his last book. I can't remember the title of it.
We have his last book, and I bought it, and you said, no, this isn't the new one.
All his
I got
books
it for
are
like
good.
$8. So I was like, oh, okay. And you said, I read this already. So
all his books are very good.
This is the new one, Blood Money, and it's got a picture of Biden with the president of China and a few other people on the cover. I could have sworn when I looked at that book last week, I saw LeBron James on the cover. Maybe he was on the cover of a different, now it's some other guy. So I don't know if they changed it or.
You know what? In the original story, I do think LeBron James was on there. Maybe they changed the cover.
Yeah, now he's not on it. Now it's some other guy I don't recognize. But there was LeBron James.
I did see LeBron James on the cover.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm not losing
so
it.
maybe they
I
have.
thought so when I looked at it last week.
So maybe they updated it without him on it. So we don't get distracted on LeBron James.
Or maybe LeBron James saw it and.
LeBron James couldn't even spell China.
Yeah, he's pretty stupid.
Isn't he a stupid person?
He is so woke.
Oh, because he's dumb.
Oh, my gosh.
He's dumb. Well, listen, guys, thanks for tuning in. My name is Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We will talk to you next time.